we have several observations over here. First of all, why would Jibreel squeeze him like that? Why? You don't do that to an average person, hurt him like that, let alone a messenger of God. That's wrong for an angel to come and traumatize a man like that. But hey, this is the same Jibreel who split his heart out, right? He'll probably do other things. Astaghfirullah. Once I read, a comment one of our scholars was making. He was very furious about this. He's like, well, when Jibreel did that and he tried to kill him, why didn't he, as Bukhari say, punch him in the face like Musa did? When the angel of death came to take the life of Musa, you know what Bukhari says? Bukhari says, Musa punched him in the face, he gave him a black eye. The angel of death went back to Allah and he says, oh God, Musa didn't let me take his soul. He punched me and you see I have a black eye. And then Allah told Musa, hey, why did you do that? This is Bukhari. Bukhari says this. So this scholar says, why didn't the Prophet, was Musa, was he more courageous than the Prophet? Couldn't Musa do the same thing? Astaghfirullah. So why would Jibreel do that to him? Why would you traumatize an angel like the Prophet? Such a beautiful human being, the best of God's creation. Yes, brother.
I just want to say it was probably getting payback for the angel of death.
Payback for the angel of death. Good one. So that's the first, observation that we have here. It doesn't add up. There's no reason why Jibreel would do that. Secondly, when the Prophet kept telling him, I can't read, right? During the first time, did the Prophet believe in what Jibreel was telling him when he told him, read? And the Prophet said, I can't. Was he believing in what Jibreel telling him or not? If you say the Prophet was telling Jibreel, hey, I'm not believing in what you're telling me, this is nonsense, I can't take this. What kind of a prophet is that who rejects the message of an angel and accuses the angel of, fabricating? If he believed in the angel and in the message that Jibreel was delivering to him, then why would Jibreel do that a second time, a third time, and traumatize him? If the guy is believing in you, let him go. Just give him the message. So something doesn't add up. Number 3, what does it mean for the Prophet to say, I'm not a reciter? Did he give him a book to read from for him to say that? No. There was no book involved. It was just verbal verses that Jibreel communicated to the Prophet. So what does it mean for the Prophet to say, I'm not a reciter? I'm not a reader? Doesn't make sense. And on top of that, when Jibreel told him read, he didn't tell him what to read. Read what? The first time he says read, and the Prophet says, I'm not a reciter, so he suffocated him, right? Well, he didn't tell him what to read. What is he supposed to read? The third time he told him, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق, then he started reading, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. So what was he supposed to read? It doesn't make sense. It's not like he was given a book and Jibreel is like, okay, read this book. No, there was no book involved. So the whole story just doesn't make sense.
So in a way, like, if we read between the lines, in a way they are accepting that the Prophet already knew that he's a prophet. He knew that he's supposed to read something or maybe convey something to people. Because when they're saying just read, and they're expecting the Prophet to know what he's supposed to read. If we read between the lines, that means in a way they are accepting that.
But their version of the story is very clear that he had no clue what was going on. We'll read some other versions. This is just Bukhari. Just wait till you see some other versions over here. Number 4, how can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send a prophet who doesn't know what's going on? And Waraqa, the genius, has to discover it. What kind of a religion is this? The Prophet whom you've chosen over almost 124,000 prophets, the best of all prophets, he's got no clue what's going on. His heart is shaking. He's been traumatized. But some guy called Waraqa bin Nawfal, he knows exactly what's going on, and he has to reassure the Prophet that no, you are a prophet. Why would God do that? He's going to send someone who doesn't even know, that he doesn't even know what to expect. But Waraqa knows what's going on. That's unjust. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that, these are not His own ways. Number 5, if the Prophet, with his own eyes he saw the angel, yet he had doubts, and Waraqah had to confirm to him that no, don't have doubts. This is not a demon, this is not a devil, this is the angel from God. If the Prophet, with his own eyes seeing the angel, yet he had initially some doubts, do you blame the people for doubting his message when they didn't even see the angel? Can we even blame the people for rejecting? When he himself is doubting in the beginning, why blame others for doubting his message? He's seeing the angel with his eyes. People at least didn't see the angel with their eyes. It just doesn't add up. It absolutely does not make sense. Let's look at the version that Tabari tells us. The version that Tabari tells us, when the angel came to him, he was so traumatized. The Prophet said, I have gone mad. I'm going crazy, and I am going to the cliff of a mountain, and I'm going to kill myself. The Prophet, he himself said that. He tells Khadija, when he tells her about the situation, he tells Khadija, Khadija, I was going mad, and I wanted to kill myself. The Prophet, according to these Sunni traditions, he tried to commit suicide because it was so heavy on him. He couldn't handle it. He was traumatized. So as he was about to kill himself, Jibreel told him, no, don't worry, I'm a messenger from God. And he comforted him. He had to do that several times to stop the Prophet from killing himself. I'm not going to judge here. You be the judge. What do you think of these narrations? Which Muslims accept till this very day, unfortunately. Many of them don't know about this, but those who have read these books, yeah, they do accept them. Especially the version of Bukhari. Bukhari is just like Quran to them, right? Anything in Bukhari, they'll accept. Now, Bukhari doesn't mention he tried to kill himself. Other versions of the story mention that, but a lot of them do accept these versions. What kind of a prophet is that who's trying to commit suicide? Does that add up? This is unjust. This is injustice, brothers and sisters. Injustice in our books. We blame non-Muslims for attacking the Prophet. Look how we describe him. The most pivotal point in his lifetime. He's receiving revelation. His mission started. The guy thinks he's gone mad and he wanted to commit suicide. And Khadija had to reassure him that no, God wouldn't do this to you. It's not a demon, it's not a shaitan. It has to be a messenger. And he's confused about that actually. He doesn't know what's going on.
There's best-selling books that have this version.
Yes, there's many, and some Western academics who've written about the life of the Prophet, they have used these versions, unfortunately.
I think it's a form of trying to humanize him to some people. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's just at all. But I'm just saying that I feel like if we better know that what they're trying to do when you try and explain it to others.
But see, even when we humanize someone, it should not be to the point where we desecrate the honor and dignity of that person and accuse him of committing suicide.
But even suicide,
that's unacceptable.
Within Judaism and Christianity, it's haram. Suicide.
It's a haram in every religion.
How can you...
So we're accusing the Prophet of actually thinking of doing something haram. He was going to do it according to these versions. Jibreel had to stop him.
And this idea that she came up with, it's very fluid in Christianity. They say all the prophets who committed haram, some of them they say slept with their own daughters and had children. It's because God...
They want to humanize them, right?
God wanted us to have examples. I'm not saying it's okay. It's terrible wrong. It's completely wrong, but I'm just saying
So let's ask this question to an average Muslim. Did God choose the Prophet or that randomly just happened? Of course he was chosen. The Quran says that, the Hadith says that, the Prophet, he himself. Did God decide on that day to choose him, or even before he created Adam, the Prophet says, I was a prophet when Adam was clay.
it's
okay?
It's very obvious
So a man like that, how can he not know what's going on? It's impossible. I mean, he knows he's been chosen by God. How can he not know?
That's what I was telling her before the class.
How can he not know? And why would the angel of God do that to him? What is God humanizing here? What is God trying to achieve? He's telling his angel, squeeze this man and suffocate him. Why? Why are you doing that? You're punishing him for something. What did he do wrong?
And for what would he need to send, like make an example of him for, if he already sent how many other prophets before him?
Exactly. And what kind of example? What can we learn from that?
Exactly. Yes. These are the arguments.
Right? So our response to that is, what is there to learn from that? You know, the difficulties the prophets went through are lessons for us we can learn from. What is this for us to learn from? That if one day God chooses you, He's going to send an angel to suffocate you? Right? It just doesn't add up.
Why would that even happen? If that's an angel, a heavenly being, that wouldn't make sense for how an angel would operate even. It's like, how are they angels if they're going to go around attacking people? It just wouldn't make sense.
Now, yes.
Could it be possible that these stories were concocted by non-Muslims or Jews pretending to be Muslims?
We're going to examine who probably forged these hadiths and fabricated them.
So one argument that we could give them is that when God Himself created a voice and that voice spoke to Musa, which was a direct creation of God, not an angel or mediation in between. Musa did not react in such a way, but the prophet who's even above Musa is reacting in such a way. So
right, no other prophet of God in the history of prophets, whether in our books or even the Bible, they were traumatized like this when God sent them a message. You know, why is the messenger of God having to go through this? Did Musa have to go through this? Did Isa have to go through this? Isa, the second he was born, he was speaking verses of God. So peacefully. But the prophet at age 40, the little baby can say it peacefully. But the 40-year-old prophet, he's got to tremble and shake and almost die. What kind of judgment is that? Just ridiculous. Yes, brother.
To believe that the prophet tried to kill himself would make the prophet a hypocrite. Because in Islam, suicide is haram. Obviously, he tells the people that if you commit suicide, you're going to go to hell.
Well, they say he was so traumatized, you know, he lost his mind, started having convulsions, and he just didn't know what he was doing. In any case, that version says that he went to Khadija, he told her about that. Then, you know, she sent after Waraqa ibn Nawfal and she informed him, and some other names you find, you know, being mentioned. One of those people that Khadija consulted was a man supposedly by the name of Adas. Adas gave her, you know, a solution, a way to figure out whether this is an angel or some demon, you know, harassing the Prophet. He told Khadija, I've written something, I don't know, something like that breaks a spell, right? Take this and put it on the back of the Prophet. And if there's a spell on him, this is going to break the spell. Then some versions tell us that Khadija was told, here's another way to figure out if this is an angel or a demon. Put the head of Muhammad in your lap when the angel comes to you. Comes to Muhammad, right? Because the angel would repeatedly come to the Prophet. So if that happens, take the Prophet's head, like open your shirt, put the Prophet next to your chest, and remove your hijab, expose your hair. If it's an angel, the angel will feel ashamed and leave. If it's a demon, the demon will stay and not respect that you've taken off your hijab. Ridiculous, you know, version after ridiculous version. First of all, hijab was not wajib at that time. Hijab became wajib in Medina, not in Mecca. In Mecca, while hijab was a virtue, it was not wajib. Secondly, you don't have to cover yourself from an angel, right? Every person has two angels. Every woman has two angels, you know. How come she's not covering her hair from those two angels? The angels, they don't have the same obligations we have. So what if Jibreel sees Khadija without hijab? So what? What happens? What's the harm? Do we have a verse or a hadith that says angels can't see Khadija, you know, with her hair exposed. So we have some of these very outrageous versions.
Do they classify these hadiths as?
Yes, some of them are sahih hadiths, absolutely. And they defend them. See their speakers, right? And their religious leaders, they talk about these hadiths and they defend them. Yes, this is exactly what happened to the Prophet. They defend them till this very day. Yes, brother.
They could have just left it at the scarf. They didn't have to take it like a
They took it even a step further, unfortunately. Now, who are some of those people who have narrated these hadiths? One of them is Az-Zuhari. Az-Zuhari, he was known for his close relationship to Bani Umayyah, the Umayyads. He narrates this hadith from Urwa ibn Zubayr. Urwa ibn Zubayr, he was known for fabricating hadiths against Imam Ali, and he was known for being a hypocrite. We have clear indications from Sunni sources that he was a hypocrite. How are we going to trust him? Then we have Aisha as the source of these traditions. Well, this is problematic for a number of reasons, but the first most important reason is that according to the Sunni version, that she was 9 when the Prophet married her and so on and so forth, she was not even born when all of this happened. Who's she narrating this from? Because these hadiths in Bukhari and others, they list Aisha as the source. She doesn't say, I heard this from my husband, the Prophet, he told me, or from my father Abu Baqir, or whoever it was. She just says, this happened to the Prophet. Okay, what's her source? She wasn't alive here, according to their, version, and according to their claims. She was so young, she was not even alive here. So who's she narrating this from? Who's her source? The Prophet? She doesn't say it's the Prophet. Who is it then? Khadija? She never, got any information from Khadija. She never even met her. So what's going on over here? So this tells us that these hadiths were fabricated. These hadiths were actually fabricated, and they were primarily fabricated by the Umayyads. The Umayyads wanted to paint a very negative image of the Prophet. We have so many clues on that, and so many correct historical accounts that tell us Muawiyah and Yazid and others, they would actually pay narrators to fabricate hadiths against the Prophet to show that he makes mistakes, that he was demonized, that he wanted to commit suicide, there was a spell on him, he made a lot of mistakes to justify their own mistakes. So that when people object to them, hey, you rulers, you're immoral, you're doing this, they would say, well, the messenger of God, he made mistakes here and too. If shaitan, misguided Yazid sometimes, well, shaitan also misguided the Prophet sometimes, and so on and so forth. So this was a way to justify their position. Number 2, Waraqa ibn Nawfal. We see all these stories were fabricated around Waraqa ibn Nawfal, because Waraqa ibn Nawfal came from those tribes that were close to the Zubayris and these others, and they wanted to give him such a huge role in the religion of Islam so that their descendants, many of those who narrated these hadiths were from the descendants of the tribe of Waraqa ibn Nawfal, to say that, hey, our grandfather Waraqa, or the one who came from our, tribe, he was the one who confirmed to the Prophet that he was a messenger, so they wanted to claim some credit for themselves. And then you had some people from the people of the book who supposedly became Muslim, but they were hypocrites. They fabricated many of these hadiths as well in order to sanctify the Prophet ﷺ. Because the Prophet had such high esteem, such an honorable figure, some did not want that in the Muslim community, so they fabricated all these hadiths, unfortunately.